Alright, so it's a wee bit windy today, but it's really nice. And so I'm going to plant up some spring sugar snap peas, some sweet pea flowers, and I'm going to throw some carrots in the ground. So I cleared the fence line and I got it all ready for planting. And variety-wise, what I'm really planting, like I have a bunch of carrots from like a bunch of different things. But I got some rainbow carrots the other day because that variety did really, really well in our garden. So I picked up 2 packets of those. And then I have all of these, basically these open these open packages of carrots that I need to use up, or sorry, peas, sugar snap peas. And I'm gonna plant them pretty densely because I have a lot of seeds and I need to use them up because they're kind of getting old. And I have the actual sweet pea flowers. Now, I've had these for a couple years. This one I've had for a couple. I got this one last year and I really like these colors and I think they'll look really pretty together. And I'm gonna put these in front of me. I'm gonna plant them in front of me on the fence line. So then that way they're separated from the other peas because sweet peas are toxic to animals and I believe to people, and so I just want there to be kind of like a clear separation. So I'm gonna plant them on this side and then have all the sugar snap, or the sugar snap peas all the way over there. So non-edible, edible. It's actually not unpleasant today at all. It's just a little windy. It is pretty bright out here, which is nice. I don't mind the brightness. Oh, that gate's open, thank goodness. So I'm going to be popping the sweet peas in first, and I'm going to be putting them right here. So this is where the sweet pea flowers are going to go, is just along this fence line, like where that bird bath is. And I want it over here to try and like keep it away from, I want to keep it away from the chickens, I want to keep it away from the dog, and I want to keep it away from the food. And we don't really plant a lot of food on this trellis or anything. Like there's not really a whole bunch of anything going on right here. So I think that'll be a good spot for it. And then over here, we'll plant all of the sweet peas, the sugar snap peas, the edible peas, all the way down here. Cleared all of this yesterday. That's why there's piles of weeds everywhere. But I'm going to plant the carrots right in here. So the peas will get put back here, but then I'll have all this open space, and this soil in this spot in particular is really in great shape. So I want to use that for carrots. What I did with this bed, that I established this short part of the bed earlier last year. I had this long bed already, but I went ahead and added this kind of a smaller portion last year. And basically what I did is I removed the grass, and I basically did like turf lifting, and that's just like where you just lift up all of the grass. But instead of removing it and shaking the soil out of it, I just flipped it upside down. I threw cardboard on top of it, and then I put compost on top of the cardboard, and it just resulted in super soft soil that is like really aerated. It's not packed, it's not compact. So I think that'll be really good for carrots. So sugar snap peas, or garden peas, or whatever you want to call them, are planted about 1 inch to 1.5 inches up to 2 inches deep sometimes, and they're planted as little as 2 inches apart from one another, and up. You can go as far apart as your heart desires. So I planted mine 6 inches apart all the way down, and then I went back through and I planted some in the middle. So technically mine are roughly about 3 inches apart, maybe a little bit more in some areas, maybe a little bit less, and that should be good. You can plant anything like morning glory seeds, sweet pea flowers, and sugar snap peas or garden peas. Those are recommended to be soaked for 12 hours, 6 hours. There's different recommended soaking times. prior to planting, and personally, I have found for me it's made no difference. I have planted morning glories and had great success with them, soaked and non-soaked. Same thing with the garden peas, the sugar snap peas. So it's up to you whether or not you want to take that extra step. I would say if you live in an extremely dry climate, you may want to do that, but if you live in a particularly wet climate or you've had a lot of rain recently, then I wouldn't worry about it too much, but that is entirely up to your prerogative. Alright, so I'm gonna plant the peas right in here, or the carrots right in here, and I just take a little handful of the seeds and I just sprinkle them in here. I'm not super particular, I just want to make sure that they're spread out enough. I'm just eyeballing this, I'm not doing anything special. You want your area to be mainly weed free, some fresh compost put down, and then other than that, you're pretty much as good as gold. Those are tiny little seeds. Those are like lettuce seeds. And then I have a wheelbarrow full of compost here. I could have sifted this because there's sticks in it, but I didn't. And I'm just gonna go over here and I'm just gonna sprinkle the compost right over top of it. And the thing about this is that you really don't want, you want to make sure your seeds are covered. If you don't do enough, you're going to have trouble getting them to grow. And so you don't want to do too much, but you also don't want to do not enough. So then I just kind of take it and I spread it out. And that is how I plant our carrots. This method works really well for me. I have not had an issue with it. The first time I planted carrots, I was so nervous because I always heard people saying that's such a hard crop to grow. I've never had it work. And I did it this way and it worked. Really, what I have found is that they don't mind a little extra soil. You don't want to bury them super deep, but you also don't want to skimp on it either. So get you some good potting soil. You could do a bag of compost. You get compost out of your garden, whatever, and just put a nice layer of that over your carrots and they should grow pretty well. I will say I do take somewhat of a more laid-back approach to gardening and planting seeds, I think, maybe. I don't know. I could be wrong. Maybe I'm a really uptight person. But I think I take a pretty laid-back approach. So when I'm planting seeds, like carrot seeds, and I'm just sprinkling them, I'm not counting each individual seed and spacing it 2 inches. I do that because I know from the past how I work, how I function. If for goodness sakes, if the world was ending and I was trying to plant carrots, I may be counting the seeds and spreading them 2 inches apart. I don't like to add unnecessary stress and anxiety to gardening because for me at times I find gardening to be quite peaceful and therapeutic in its own way. And so I don't like to add unnecessary stress to it. I just don't. And when you're planting carrots and when you're planting morning glories or, onions, whatever it is that you're popping in the ground, tomatoes, I just found that kind of the approach that I take when I'm doing it is, what if this does work? For a long time, I really struggled with that mindset, and packets of seeds would just burn holes in my hands as I sat there with them forever because I would just sit there and it would take me so much. It really did. I would have to work up the courage to plant these seeds, which it sounds so stupid, but I really did. I would just have to sit there and work myself up and psych myself up for planting these seeds, and it's because I would sit there and I would say, what if this doesn't work? What if this doesn't work? What if this doesn't work? And what changed was my mindset. I changed my mindset. I started saying, what if this does work? Instead of saying, what if I plant these cucumbers and nothing happens? I started saying, I'm going to plant them and see what happens. Because what if they work out? What if I pull in more cucumbers than we know what to do with? What if I plant carrots and all of them germinate and come up and I have 100 pounds of carrots? What happens if I do this? What happens if I start tomatoes from seed? If I do it and nothing happens, I can't lose what I never had because that's the worst that's going to happen. The worst that's going to happen is you're going to be out the 217 or the 219 that you spent on the seeds. Once I changed that mindset, I started having a lot more success, and I did start having a lot more failure because it is an ever-learning process, and you're going to learn something new every year, and the longer you do it, the more comfortable you're going to become doing it, and the more you're going to learn and take away each year. So I just wanted to share that little tidbit of information because it was just on my mind, and just kind of my thought process as I'm planting a garden, and maybe a thought process you may find helpful for yourself when you're planting a garden this year, because I think every year I don't know about you. I really need encouragement every single year. That's why I love Pinterest. That's why I love social media, Instagram, Facebook. I love being in groups, and uh, I love looking at what people are doing and the information that they share. And that's something too. I mean, never be afraid to share the information that you know. Never be afraid to do it, because it may help. It may help somebody. It may not help somebody right now, but in 10 years, I mean, I can't tell you. I needed to know how to pull a chicken feather. One of our chickens broke a feather, a pin feather, and it was bleeding like crazy. And I needed to know how to pull it. I looked up a YouTube video. It was 5 years old, and I watched it, and it helped me. When they made that video 5 years ago, 5 years ago, 4 years ago, that video was not helpful or relevant to me in any way, shape, or form. But I really needed it when I needed it. And so never be afraid to share your information online. And when not your information. Don't keep your social security to yourself, okay? Um, but don't be afraid to share what you know and the knowledge you have about gardening with other people, because inspiration is everything, and that's what keeps me going. Inspiration really does keep me going. And you never know what you share may help somebody down the road. So those are all my thoughts. Thank you so much for tuning in with me today. I really do appreciate it. I hope you have a wonderful, wonderful rest of your day, and I will see you all later. Bye-bye.